Hello, happy campers. Today we're going to be taking a look at three of my favorite Glocks. And before we start, I'm just going to give you a quick safety check. Make sure all the weapons are unloaded and safe. There's no bullets. Okay, this one, unloaded, no bullets. And this one, unloaded. Okay, now this is a Glock 17, which is the gun I carry for work, and I really like it because the size just fits my hands pretty well. As a Glock 17 Gen 5, very accurate. And this one is a Glock 19. Well, actually, they call it Glock 19 MOS. I put this Trigicon sights on it. It's also a Gen 5. It's a little bit smaller, as you can see, comparing to Glock 17. The slide is about 3/4 inches shorter, and the handle is also about 1/2 inch shorter. And this one, the Glock 45, model 45. In theory, the Glock 45 is using the Glock 19 slide on the top, which you can see they're almost just identical, but with the Glock 17's receiver. So for people with the larger hands, this would be a much better grip for it. Another obvious difference is that Glock 17's magazine carries the 17 round capacity, and Glock 19 is 15 rounds, and they're slightly smaller. But for the Glock 45, it's the same identical magazine as Glock 17. I think eventually I'm probably going to replace this one and just keep the 17 and the Glock 45. I'm sorry, because for the grip, it feels really nice in my hand. I really like the Gen 5's feature. For example, you have ambidextrous slide release, both on the 17 and the Glock 45 or the Glock 19. And another thing that I want to talk about today is the reflex sight. Trigicon has two different RMR reflex sights. This one, as you can see with this band on the top, this one is a non-battery operated and with a 9 MOA dot. I personally prefer this one than the one that requires a battery. First of all, if you're probably never gonna know how long the battery is gonna last. But with this, with the ambient lights, you will magnify, and also with the radiums or whatever the chemicals compounds they use, the lights will stay on for the next 10 years. So I think this is a much better solution. A lot of people talk about this, saying they want the 2 MOAs or 4 MOAs. But realistically speaking, if you look at the size of the front side and the dots in the reflex side, the smaller MOA dots doesn't really mean anything if you have a strong backlights, or doing, let's say during the summertime in an outdoor situation. The bigger the dot, the better. And also, there's some people talk about the smaller dot will give you better accuracy for a longer distance. But think about it, logically speaking, a handgun is a defensive weapon. I would not try to shoot anyone over 30 yards away. I mean, why would I need something that I can paint a target for 100 yards or 150 yards away with a handgun. It's just not practical, not reasonable, in my opinion. Let's put this one on the side. Look at the Glock 45, the Model 45. It's a 9mm, the same magazine as a Glock 17. In my opinion, this is probably the best of the both worlds between a Glock 19 and a Glock 17. You don't really have to worry about mixing up the magazines if you just keep this two. The compactness of the Glock 45, but offers higher capacity like a Glock 17, and you only have to have one kind of a magazine. In my opinion, that's probably the best thing. And also, in my previous video, we talk about the Ruger PC carbine. I also use Glock 17 magazines. So I think for my personal use, Glock 17 or Glock 45, or a combination of both, is probably the best solution. And as you can see, I also have a new hunting knife. I'm about to do a review. It's a Damascus steel, but you can see I try to polish or sharpen the knife already, and we'll do a separate video on this one next time. And again, now we're talking about the size of a handgun, the size of a magazine. I think it's purely based on any individual's personal preferences. I mean, it's not it's just not something that I can say, you know, my way is the better way. No, it's not. Whatever works well for you, that's the one I would suggest you stick with it. But for me, I think this too is probably a better solution. Having a RMR reflex sight, it would take some use to it. You probably need to do a lot of a practice and get it sighted in, and the difficulty for me when I first switched to this side was to finding the dot. But having a taller front sight really helped me to line up the targets. But if you're thinking about just getting a Glock 19 but putting on some sort of a reflex sight, make sure you also update your front sight and rear sight. The rear sight is the regular Glock rear sight, because I just didn't want anything else sticking out in the back anymore. With the front sight, it would give me a very good good balance. I mean, just easier to line up the target. For the regular Glocks, I mean, it's just a regular Glock, nice sights. It works just well. If you have any questions, any comments, please leave a comment below. I will take a look at it and answer all your questions if I can. And once again, thank you very much for sharing this moment with me. All right.